Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterism Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. It's good to be back with you. I had over a week now of some kind of a respiratory problem, infection, and what have you. I call it the Ubangi body rot, for lack of better terminology, because that's kind of the way it felt. Couldn't talk without going into coughing, hacking, spasms, just no fun. But I am able now to talk a little better. Still not over it, but I'm getting better, and I appreciate that. I appreciate lots of emails from you expressing concern and how you miss the morning musings and what have you. Well, I'm sharing some thoughts with you about the Lord's Supper, about communion. There are lots of preterists who say and who believe that the Lord's Supper was and did cease at the coming of the Lord in AD 70. The opponents of covenant eschatology say, why, if what you're saying is true, i.e. the Lord came in AD 70, then why do you take the Lord's Supper today? Well, in the first place, I'm not absolutely convinced that the Lord's Supper was supposed to cease. I believe that's a misreading of the text. Now, that doesn't mean that I believe that it's some sort of sacrament still. I no longer believe, as I once did, concerning every first day of the week, that it's absolutely mandatory. You've got to take it Sunday morning, and if you missed it, you got to do that Sunday night. I just no longer hold to that view. But be that as it may, I'm sharing mostly some ideas of why I believe that it's perfectly legitimate for Christians today to observe the Lord's Supper. To me, one of the most fascinating and convincing, by the way, arguments, if you please, has to do with the type and antitype between the supper and the Passover. Consider very quickly with me the following points. The night the Passover was instituted, the Lord had Israel take of it as a memorial of deliverance from Egyptian bondage, as a memorial of deliverance from the death that came on the firstborn as a result of the failure to shed the blood. Now I want you to think about that for a moment. The Passover was to be partaken as a memorial of an event before that event had even happened. Did you catch that? The very night that the Passover lamb was to be slain and the blood applied, Israel was to take the supper, the Passover meal, as a memorial, as if that had already taken place. But more than that, they were to take the supper as a memorial of deliverance from Egyptian bondage. They had not left yet. They were to take the supper as a memorial of deliverance from the death that was going to take place that night. How can something be taken as a memorial, i.e. a remembrance of past events, when those events are not yet past? Well, the night in which he was betrayed, Jesus instituted the supper and said, "Do this in memory of me." Memory of what, Lord? You haven't died yet. Memory of deliverance from bondage? They haven't been freed from bondage yet. Memorial of deliverance from death? I thought everybody says deliverance from death is in the future, or is related to the second coming at least. Pardon me. So if the Lord's Supper is the antitypical fulfillment of Passover, and the Passover was taken as a memorial of something that had not yet taken place, but would become a memorial when that which it was memorializing actually took place, and after those events actually took place, deliverance from Egyptian bondage, deliverance from that death, then that Passover took on a brand new meaning, i.e., a fulfilled meaning. Likewise, the supper was taken as a memorial before the events that it was to memorialize took place. But if the Lord came in AD 70, and he did, then should not the supper be a memorial of the accomplished, fulfilled deliverance from bondage and deliverance from death? A celebration, just like Israel took the Passover as a celebration of deliverance from bondage and death, the supper serves as a memorial of the deliverance from bondage and the deliverance from death. Yes, they were to take the Passover until it was fulfilled. When it was fulfilled in the Promised Land, it took on a new meaning, i.e., a fulfilled meaning, and likewise the supper. They took of it as a memorial anticipating fulfillment, and when it was fulfilled, they and we can take of it as a true memorial and celebration of fulfillment. Hey, thanks so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. We will see you on the flip side.